you have a video about the 20th century that I think, lays this out in a pretty
Thanks.
compelling way,
Yeah.
in which you basically say that the 20th century represents a battle between three essentially religious
Yeah.
meta stories: Marxism,
Yeah.
communism, fascism,
Yes.
and liberalism, properly understood. Liberalism not as in like I'm a super Democrat.
Yes.
Liberalism as classical liberalism, John Stuart Mill, Adam Smith,
Yeah.
people's
Yeah.
individual liberty matters.
Yes.
We should be free to basically live in a relatively laissez-faire society. That's
Yes.
liberalism properly understood. Lay out the way that
Thank you.
interplay sort of happened, and we can use that as like a bridge back to this frightening fascism among your peers, because I think that's a good place for us to kind of start to wrap things up. In
Yeah.
horror.
Um, the Marxists, the liberals, and the fascists fight each other, and all of them are built inside this implicit thing of the technological project. And one of the things I've learned is that we have all these mental assumptions associated with modernity that we never think about, but which aren't tested. And we're stuck inside that paradigm until we can break the glass and break out of the modern paradigm. We're going to be stuck just spiraling into the left's game, because the end point of all of this is nihilism, because the modernist world says that progress is an implicit goal in of itself, and that human nature is perfectible,
Yeah.
and that material abundance will give us happiness.
Right. All false.
Yes. And
Like provably false
and
in life.
exactly. And the 20th century was disproving them. The drive for utopia created the most horrifying atrocities in history. We got the material wealth and it made us miserable. The second half of the 20th century was pretty close to a utopia. And so I really dislike, one of the things I really dislike about the right today is the right and the left, is it's all still stuck around Hitler. I don't want to talk about Hitler. I don't want to talk about a failed 100-year-old ideology. That doesn't have anything to do with me. But it's always the left calls everyone they dislike Hitler, and then lots of people on the right LARP is Hitler. So the left, if you are a wise person, are very clearly resentful people who want to burn society down. If you read leftist authors from...
Well, they say it explicitly.
Yeah, if you read Saul Alinsky or Gramsci or any of those authors, they literally say it. We took the left on complete face value, and we were incapable of seeing the pretty obvious conclusion of what they really wanted, because we took, we care about black people and women at face value. I see the right doing the exact same thing, and I hate it, where they're taking the fascists on face value.
And let's talk about what is going on here. So
Yeah.
you've got a great power struggle in the 20th century between fascism, which is this kind of ill-defined will to power, masculine thing. The way I encourage everybody to watch your video. I'll put a link to it because it's really good. I think it's really thoughtful. You've got the communists who are just utopian whack job murderers.
Yes.
Who are instantly murderous to the extent no one's ever seen before or since. And yet 28% of Gen Z thinks communism's good because we live in crazy times.
Yes.
So now we're in a place where, as we sit here, everyone's back to calling Trump the new fascist, that we're coming up on fascism.
Yes.
So are they right? Because you're like, I've got a bunch of my right-wing friends want me to watch Hitler propaganda.
It's obvious to me, and I realize it's not obvious to other people. Trump's very much not a fascist. There's nothing you can really hang Trump on for being a fascist. But
is Nick Fuentes and this like weird dark movement that likes Trump, is that fair?
So Nick Fuentes doesn't like Trump, actually. You know my beef with Nick Fuentes, where I accused him of being a Fed, and then that got 3 million views. And he dislikes Trump. He also supports the Muslims in Europe against the local white population. So Trump is very clearly not a fascist. J.D. Vance is not a fascist. Mencius Moldbug is not a fascist either. The people who the left calls fascists are not fascists. There is this fascist undercurrent on the right that I'm worried will grow up, and it has this ferocity and this vigor and this virility that it's hard to match. The fascists will come after me because they have the virility, and the rest of us are too much of cowards to say no. And that's what it's how the communists won on the left, because no one stood up against them. And that's what really scares me, because we keep pushing good moral people to be cowards, and then the evil win. And this is one of the feedback loops in our society I really loathe, where if there's a nice, smart, moral guy, and let's say someone insults him and then he beats the guy up, we'd say, oh my God, you're a horrible person for beating this guy up. Then what you've done is you've incentivized the moral person to never engage in basically threatening behavior, while the evil people will do it anyway. And
yeah, Jordan Peterson talks about this. There's actually below the surface of a lot of interactions, there's a sort of the threat of violence at some level.
Yes.
That it's like, look, it's kind of peace through strength. You want to be good, you need to be prepared you need to know that the sword is at your side.
Yes.
And you need to be prepared to brandish it.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you're going to get walked all over and you'll lose, and you can have whatever utopian nonsense you want.
Yeah.
But your head's going to be on a pike. So your utopia will be your head on a pike.
One of the top criticisms of me is I'm a libertarian masquerading. I'm a fascist masquerading as a libertarian. And this has happened multiple times when I've spoken back against bad people, including people on the hard right, where they're like, or I've got criticism, why do you engage with Nick Fuentes? And my attitude is, okay, when these people attack me, their people completely support them. Meanwhile, when the reverse happens and you stand up to them, you get flack from your people. And I'm thinking, this is exactly what I see with the Hamas-Israel thing, where Hamas attacked Israel. Israel fights back. And people criticize Israel for fighting back, even though Hamas started the war. And the way war works is if you around, you find out. If you attack a foreign country and they destroy your country, you found out. This is the consequences of your actions. When Japan declared war on us and we firebombed Tokyo, that was the consequence of their action. And it's horrible, but this is human life.
There's something that I've come to find in myself, that there's a kind of like philosophical two operating systems, or more than two probably, running at the same time that I've become more comfortable with. And one is a fairly radical libertarianism.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of riding on top of my Catholic faith. So as a Catholic, as a Christian, Jesus basically says we are all created in the image and likeness of God.
Yeah.
We have like a universal, that's what Catholic actually means, dignity.
Yes.
So that's super crazy radical, like almost nothing else happening, that gives rise to essentially the West.
Yes.
Like the notion that there should be any kind of equality, that the divine right of kings is not a thing.
Yeah.
That's all Christ. So that, I think, like a kind of radical libertarianism can emerge out of that. And then it can kind of forget that and devolve into nonsense, but still. But then there's this other layer that as I've aged has come in, and I don't think it's incompatible. It's a certain Machiavellian realism about the nature of the world.
Yeah.
And this is where something like the Israel-Palestine thing comes in for me.
Yes.
Which is like, I don't know about these land claims historically or otherwise. Here's what I do know. Every nation state has been constructed and won by conquest.
Yeah.
That's just observable fact. And if you start a war and you lose, too effing bad.
Yes.
Yes. Like, I'm sorry.
I agree with that.
Like, well, the British left India, and India and Pakistan was a bloody disaster, but that's history.
Yes.
So the rest of this stuff is like not real. Like, I don't think they are really serious about it. It's just like, well, you just want to win and you lost. Yes. And is it really anything more than you wanted to win? You lost.
Yeah. I'm curious, as an external observer, what do you see as my political and philosophic, like, if you had to write to another friend what my political and philosophic influences are, what would you say?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think that they're very similar to mine, actually.
I'd agree.
And actually, this is a good place for us to kind of talk a little bit about your background as a way to start to wrap up our conversation for now. Right. So, let me turn it back on you. So if there's a viewer who's here and is like, this was a really interesting conversation. I seem to recall you saying you're like a college dropout. So wait a second. Why should I care about anything you have to say? Why are any of your opinions anything other than the rantings of a hubristic young man who has lived more than some, but still hasn't lived enough to be so confident?
Go to hell. Yeah, go to hell.
No, serious. It's a reasonable question.
Oh, you judge someone based off the quality of what they say, not their credentials. I mean, it's like war, where when all is said and done, the question is, do you win or you lose the war? And you can talk about the supply chains, you can talk about the strategy. The question is, do you win? And so if your opinions are accurate, they're accurate. And if they're not accurate, they're not accurate. When you look at the great thinkers of history, you look at Socrates. He was a stonemason's son who just hung out in the marketplace trolling people. You look at Confucius. He was a failed, basically DMV worker for the society he was in. You look at Marquis de Sade, and Marquis de Sade actually he has a relative philosophic importance on leftist philosophy, which is something they'd never say. And I don't want to get too deep in that because I think it does a disservice to the left. He was a degenerate sociopathic nobleman.
There's a comic book series that I read a while back called The Invisibles.
Yeah.
That venerates the Marquis de Sade, and in some ways, in looking back on it now, was like a super proto, here's what a sci-fi woke utopian hero experience would look like. And I didn't realize it when I was reading it at the time, because I just found out, oh, this is kind of interesting, but it's actually like, it was a
Marquis de Sade,
transhuman degenerate hellscape experience to go through.
Marquis de Sade's thing was his idea that if you use degeneracy, you can strip away the external trappings of people's personalities to attain some deep, perverse spirituality. I mean, I think it's satanic. I can say that comfortably. And I look at a lot of wokeness where we want to strip away every single part of your identity to get this like pure, authentic core.
Your truth.
Exactly. And so
these things have all become, I'm sorry to I'm kind of interrupting, but do you find it all in spending this much time with these ideas that the slogans just all become like a joke?
Yeah,
and you're shocked that anyone takes any of them seriously?
Oh, yeah, I feel that all the time where I listen to like the believe all women thing. I grew up in the Me Too era, and I realized that really screwed over a lot of Gen Z guys because their first introduction to dating was basically always worry about if you're coming across as too strong to a woman, believe everything a woman says. You should always be like, you shouldn't try to be hyper masculine, you try to be sensitive. And that really screwed over a lot of Gen Z guys.
I think that's actually something that not enough people have really talked about.
Yes.
Because I've talked to my son about this, and he's said similar things that and he explained the dynamics. He's actually had girlfriends and stuff, and he's like 90s normal.
Yeah.
So
that is a great credit to you.
But the paralyzing fear and the sort of imputed guilt for a generation that was just born in the past 20 years and has nothing to do with the past.
Yes.
Like the sins of the father befalling on our sons thing is so evil.
Yeah.
It's so contemptible as a father and as a mother. Like, how could any parent look upon their children and not be like, what did you say about my kid? Like, go F yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get, like, man, that gets me going.
I feel the same way. And it's why I say most of the issues with Gen Z are boomer bureaucracies that pushed way further than anyone wanted them to. And I don't think the boomers ever thought what would happen to future generations. I think that whatever they believed the conditions were when they were growing up would continue magically, and they had no concept of the immense sacrifices their parents made to give them the America they had. And
they were 60s radicals who then got jobs at Goldman Sachs and now live in super zip codes in places like Montclair, New Jersey.
Yes.
Married with kids, earning reasonable, like mid to high six-figure salaries.
Yes.
And holding luxury beliefs that destroy everyone around them, but not them.
Yes. And I mean, examples of the bureaucracies that went too far: immigration, academia, inflation, the school system. There's like 15 of these, and for all of them,
all of the traditional corporate press.
Yeah, it's a boomer's virtue signaling to their buddies without any care of the costs they're inflicting. And that affects young people my age especially. And the thing I can't get past is the school system, where they told young guys my age, we have too many, they would say in science class, we have too many white males in science, and we need to make space for other people in science.
This is, yeah. What does it even mean? What does it even mean? It's like they have in their head that progress is a game of
it is zero sum because these people aren't competent, so they can't build anything. So they're parasitic people without skills, and so it is zero sum for them. And that's the horrible thing. Like, these are not, and I came to the conclusion these are not morally good people, because it's intensely hypocritical and it's intensely parasitic, and it's evil that we did this to an entire generation of young people. And there's just the complete lack of psychological comprehension in the situation shocks me. And we're the era of history. It's funny that there's a direct correlation between the amount of time they'll spend in therapy and their actual understanding of psychological issues, where there's multiple things where we should have investigated. Why is the left? Why is there this entire generation of women that openly say their complete disdain for men? They'll openly say men are gross. We don't need men. I don't need no man. That's a big issue, and it's not discussed seriously. Why are they saying this message to young men? It's this whole thing where there has to be. This leads back to the point you posited, where the 20th century viewed things in purely material scientific terms. And that's the real issue, where we're facing what I think is a spiritual issue. It's an issue with the human soul, and we have no frame of reference to understand how the soul works.
If you like this clip, you should check out the full video and all the other great content we've got at Dad Saves America. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell so you won't miss our new stuff as it drops each week.